Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week is off to a great start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. A lot happened this weekend. A lot of it was really good. If you were wearing purple and gold, whether that be on a basketball court, or baseball diamond, or a golf course. A lot of it was very, very good for LSU, and we'll be talking about it. NCAA tournament on the men's side welcomes its Final Four. Doesn't include LSU, but we'll still give you some thoughts on that. Jamar Cain leaving the LSU football program, headed to Denver to join Sean Payton's staff. I got some SEC baseball thoughts in hour number 2. So plenty to get to. Again, appreciate you spending some time with us. We'll be with you until 3 o'clock. LSU takes 2 of 3 from Arkansas, and that's where we will start. So much happens over a 3-game baseball series, and you want to react to it all. But in the end, you kind of look back and try to take the big picture of it. And in the big picture, one of the best teams in the country came into Alex Box Stadium, and you had one bad inning. And other than that, LSU kind of dominated. It was an absolute force offensively in games 2 and 3 on Saturday. And Skeens was brilliant in game 1. And one of the things that, as I was collecting my thoughts to write my weekly column over on 3, that I was thinking is, it's a lot of fun to play baseball in the Southeastern Conference. Every weekend you've got a great opponent. Every weekend there's some great energy, great attendance. And it's fun to be in the middle of it. And it gets you ready for the postseason. And one of the great things about being in the SEC is that you don't ever play an SEC team in a regional. And so as I was going through Skeens' outing and Cruz and White and their offensive prowess and what you saw from Garrett Edwards and some of the performances, and I say, okay, well, that was against Arkansas. I realized to myself, I went, Arkansas is probably better than every team that they could send to Baton Rouge for a regional if LSU does what we think they'll do over the next 8 weeks and clinches a host site. Kind of a comforting thought that I had. I thought LSU played good baseball this weekend. I thought they played good baseball. I thought there were some negatives, and I'm going to get to them. But overwhelmingly, an elite program with a good team that's struggling to find some things pitching-wise because of the injuries that they've had came in, and LSU was much the better. I said this on the air on Friday. I don't know how many people would have been listening to the show because the baseball game was on and it was in a big spot. But as I looked at game 1, and it's 1-0 Arkansas, as you get into the late innings, you get into the 8th inning. And Brady Neal hits that home run off of Hagen Smith to tie the game. And one, that's a great thing because Brady Neal's a freshman player, and he's a left-handed hitter, and he's hitting against one of the best left-handers in the conference, and he drives it out of the yard. I mean, that's great just to see from your freshman catcher, and it's great because you tie the game. But it's also got me thinking, oh, my goodness. Dave Van Horn has intentionally put Hagen Smith in this spot to lock down one win, the first win every weekend, basically, unless the offense just blows the doors off of him and they don't need to use him. The first tight win, he's going to go to Hagen Smith. If LSU wins this game 1, which they've just tied in the 8th, and all of a sudden now they have the bases loaded in the 8th, if they win this game and Hagen Smith has thrown 75 or 80 pitches, he's done for the weekend, and they don't have a ton left. I've seen the video of Will McIntyre. It's not that impressive. I've seen the video of Cody Adcock. It's not that impressive. What they've got coming up next, LSU should be able to handle. This could have the makings of a sweep. And then, bang, Arkansas goes nuts in the 10th because LSU doesn't capitalize in the 8th, and you end up losing that game. But that truth did hold, too, on a Saturday because Arkansas trotted a pitching staff out there with, as we already knew, no Jackson Wiggins and no Cody Franks and no Brody Tigert and no Hagen Smith because he'd already pitched. And LSU, over the course of 2 games on Saturday, scored 26 runs and had 27 hits in 2 games. Offense is pretty good. Let's talk about the pitching, though. One of the biggest developments of this weekend was the emergence of Garrett Edwards. Garrett Edwards went out there in relief of Ty Floyd on Saturday morning and struck out both men he faced. And as the story goes, Jay Johnson went to him and said, hey, get yourself ready to pitch tonight. You pitched to 2 batters. You threw 10 pitches. You're pitching again tonight. So he went to the cryotherapy deal and said, all right, I'm ready to go. And Thatcher Hurd didn't quite have it. So they go to Griffin Herring, and he gets you through 2 innings. And they hand it to Garrett Edwards in the middle of a tight game. But LSU's offense is just kind of taking control of it. He puts out the fire in a dirty inning and then gets you through 4 shutout. And while you look around at other pieces of the bullpen, you say, okay, Christian Little, okay, here's what I'll talk about him in a second. But all of a sudden, I believe Garrett Edwards has worked his way to potentially the most trusted high leverage pitcher on this staff. I believe on Thursday, if LSU's got a 1 or 2 run lead, the game's tied and Skeens is done, they're going to go to Garrett Edwards. I think in this organism that is a baseball season that takes different shapes and grows and becomes something different almost every weekend, the growth in this bullpen is that, okay, we've seen Christian Little in a couple weekends and games have gotten away from us. Here's what Garrett Edwards has done. Okay. He's going to be your highest level leverage guy. Now let me talk about Christian Little for a second. Little in College Station came in to that game that LSU lost, and he did walk the first guy, which was a bad start. But then he got the 2 big strikeouts with that good breaking ball that he had to get. And then he gets a ground ball that was hit pretty well, but it's a ground ball, and it gets through the infield, and A&M scores a couple. And while Christian Little is on the mound, yes, the lead changed from LSU to Texas A&M. Was he awful in that game? I don't think so. I think he got 2 strikeouts he absolutely had to have, and then a ground ball found some grass. In the game on Friday, I did not think Christian Little was good. I thought the outing was significantly worse to me than the one in College Station. He gives up. So he threw 12 pitches in the game total, and only 5 of them were strikes. So he had 7 balls of his 12 pitches. And then of the 5 strikes he threw, 3 of them were base hits, including a 3-run homer. That was a bad outing. I can live with the one in College Station. This one was not good. So do I still think Christian Little is a good enough pitcher to get high leverage outs in the SEC in the postseason? I do. Do I think that Garrett Edwards has made his case to move ahead of him in the pecking order? Right now, I do. And that would not have been something you would have heard me say in January. So that's, I thought, the biggest bullpen development over the weekend. As far as the starters go, Ty Floyd found a little groove in game 1 on Saturday. He, of course, got off to a terrible start. You give up the home run that, look, Wegner, I was seated down the right field line, and when Wegner hit the ball, you can see my angle, I'm down the right field line, and it goes up in the air, and I'm thinking, just based on my eyes, I'm going, that's not going to be a big deal. And it just wouldn't come down. It had that backspin, and the wind was blowing out, and Cruz just kept drifting and kept drifting and kept drifting, and it's gone. Okay, and then he hits 2 more guys, and I'm going, goodness gracious, this is the same thing we saw last week. This is not good. And somewhere along the line, Ty Floyd found it, and he started locating that fastball at the top of the zone, and he started getting some punch-outs, and all of a sudden, he had gotten into the 7th inning and got an out in the 7th inning before he handed things over to Edwards. So that was encouraging from Ty Floyd. You look up at the end of the game, after that bad first inning where he gives it the 2-run homer, hits a couple of guys, finishes his line with 6 1/3, just 3 hits, 2 runs. Only one of the runs was earned because Beloso didn't block up the leadoff man's hit down the first base line. It was hit hard, but you just got to knock it down. He didn't do it. And he struck out 7. So I thought a pretty good outing from Ty Floyd. The most disappointing aspect of the weekend was the outing of Thatcher Hurd. Now, y'all have heard me talk about Thatcher Hurd on this show for the last 4 weeks. I think his development is the most important thing for this team because it would solidify in my opinion, the biggest question mark on this team. You might say it's bullpen. I say it's starting pitching because I think starting pitching is more important. And I think that the highest upside in the starting staff is Thatcher Hurd. So for him to go out there and walk 5 guys in 2 innings is really disappointing. And he gives up the 4 hits as well. Look, I was very adamant after the Butler outing. I said, I know it's Butler. I know Butler is not any good. But it doesn't matter who you're facing. It matters what it looks like coming out of your hand. And in those games, Hurd was throwing strikes, snapping off breaking pitches, locating fastballs down. He was locked in. And because he was locked in, he was striking guys out, bouncing off the mound. There was an energy to him. His chest was out. He was showing some bravado out there. He looked like a guy who was in control and had found it. And he has not looked like that for the last 2 weeks. And the competition level's gone up, and it's very possible, if not likely, that I've heaped a little bit too much expectation on him coming back from a significant lower back injury. That's very possible. But it's still, to me, it's just a little bit disappointing that now through 2 SEC outings, he hasn't really shown any semblance of being able to find it. Now, that said, I would not go away from him right now. No way. At this point in the season, with this good a team, you have the opportunity to see this through with him and give him a couple more weeks. And I don't have any idea if Jay and Wes Johnson are even considering someone else in a third start. They may not be. They may be. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I would not be right now. Tennessee lights him up in an inning and a third. He gives up 6 runs. Okay, let's reevaluate. But right now, through 2 weeks, when you're in first place in the West and you've played 2 solid teams and you've won both series and you've had a couple run rule games, I'm going to continue to see it through with Thatcher Hurd. I'm concerned. I'm a little bit worried. I'm not panicking on it. It's still March. June's when it counts. Perspective. We got some weeks to go here. So disappointed, but hopeful that Thatcher Hurd maybe finds it this week against Tennessee, because I feel like maybe if something clicks, he may be home free, and that would be huge. But it was nice to see Ty Floyd take a big step moving forward. I had one more kind of pitching thought, and we'll get to some offense here in the second segment. Nate Ackenhausen was unavailable over the weekend. I was unaware of that until Saturday, but he was not available. Jay Johnson did say today to the media he's probably not going to pitch on Tuesday against Grambling, should be available against Tennessee over the weekend. So that would be really good. The word that was used to me on Saturday when talking about Ackenhausen was soreness. He just felt a little sore. I didn't hear the word tight. I didn't hear the word popped. I didn't hear the word MRI. I didn't hear the word, I heard sore. So hopefully it's nothing major. He takes the weekend off, doesn't pick up a baseball for a few days, and then is able to get back on the horse and give LSU some innings this weekend, because certainly LSU needs him. One of the things that this bullpen has right now is options. I don't think it has a dominant piece to it. I don't think necessarily that it's got a structure at this point. It does have options, and we don't want any of those to go away. So that's the plan at this very moment. Hunt Palmer here with you on a Monday. Appreciate you hanging out with us. When we come back, I want to talk a little about the offense and kind of what we saw. I'm out of words for Cruz, so I may not spend a ton of time on that. There were some other things I saw that were really good, so we'll talk about those next in the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I invite you to check out that website. It's got some great pictures of the great work that David Duvall and his team have done. It's got testimonials that talk about the customer service aspect of what they do over at One Bath and Closets, and got an opportunity to contact them and set up a free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything for David Duvall and his team to come in and go over what they could do for you, whether it's a renovated bathroom or maybe a brand new closet that's customized to your life and to your needs. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I can promise you this about David Duvall and his team. They're not going to do the work like some contractors would and then try to get to the next job, cut a few corners, get out of there, take the check and run. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. They will put together a plan. They will stick to it. They will show up and complete jobs on deadline, and they will not have to come back because they cut some corners. I can promise you that over at One Bath and Closets. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night.
Charles Hannigrove, join us for the Tuesday edition of Hanny Time. The women's Final Four will be set, and we'll be talking with Dwayne Colucci about the upcoming men's Final Four from Las Vegas. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, the left-handed pitcher thing, right? I'm not going to sit up here and go, shut up, don't tell me else you can't hit left. Or that's not the point here. Here's my big picture view on LSU against left-handed pitching. I think LSU hits left-handed pitching just fine. I think our perspective is a little bit warped because this offense has been so complete and dominant every weekend that any blip in this steamroller of an offense, we notice. And we certainly looked at that game against Iowa, and they took Brecht out of the game and brought in that lefty, and he did a really nice job against LSU. And we noticed that. It's very rare. You know, teams don't usually hang 3 or 4 zeros in a row against LSU. It just doesn't happen a lot. But he did come in and got some guys out. Left-handed pitcher. Butler starter that Friday night where he was throwing 14 miles an hour and everybody was waving over the top of it and striking out. He was left-handed. We noticed. I got it. Go to College Station. They go to Lampkin in Game 3 on Sunday, and he hangs 4 zeros. Left-handed. Then you got Hunter Holland and Hagen Smith in the game on Friday, and they did a really nice job against LSU. Through those 9 innings, they had allowed 1 run. Cruz hits a 2-run homer later. So we noticed those things. And I'm with you. LSU, to this point, with the eye test and statistically, hits right-handers significantly better than they've hit left-handers. Now, they've hit right-handers at a video game level. It's a joke how hard they light up right-handed pitching. And they hit left-handed pitching fine. As I mentioned, last week in College Station, they scored 10 runs off left-handers in 1 game. On Sunday, Game 3, I always do that. Game 3 of this past weekend, Zach Morris from Arkansas came in. He's left-handed. He threw 1 inning. LSU scored 4 runs on 3 hits in an inning. It's not as if whenever a left-hander comes in the game, LSU's toast. Which is, I think, kind of the vibes that I get at times. I will cede to you that left-handed pitchers have proportionally given LSU a little bit more trouble. But they're scoring off him. Gavin Dugas pumped 1 into the left field seats off a lefty earlier. Dylan Cruz sees left-handed pitching just fine. Brady Neal, off one of the toughest left-handers in the league on Friday, hits an opposite field left-on-left home run into left center field alley. So I think where the disconnect is I'm not trying to sit up here and go, oh, you don't think LSU can hit lefties? You're an idiot. Like, it's not. I agree. Like, LSU has hit righties much better, just at an incomprehensible level. But I think that because they're so good on offense, that they lead the country in everything, that if there's ever an instance where for like 4 innings they don't score and strike out 4 times, our antennas just go up. It's like, what's going on? Well, how is the offense shorting out? I think they're going to hit lefties just fine. A lot of times when Hunter Holland and Hagen Smith go out there, they're going to hang some zeros. They're the 2 best pitchers on this Arkansas staff, and Arkansas is one of the elite programs in the country. Sometimes you just say, that's a pretty good job. So, again, they have struggled at times with a left-handed pitcher or 2. I don't think the narrative that LSU can't hit lefties, and I use air quotes there, is necessarily a fact. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on Dylan Cruz here. Hanny did on his show. I did in the column that I wrote. I've really kind of been doing it for 2.5 years now. I've just never seen anything like it. And Jay Johnson said on Saturday that he's the best baseball player he's ever seen. Not college baseball player, period. Maybe a little bit of a hyperbole, but I think one of the things that I was thinking about earlier today is when everyone was saying when he came out of high school that he kind of reminded him a little bit of a mini Mike Trout. I went, well, that is ridiculous. That is probably more ridiculous than when I was listening to Paul Maneri say that Landon Marceau was a combination of Alex Lang and Aaron Nola. And I went, wait a second. We can't do that to an 18-year-old. Dylan Cruz at the college level is playing like Mike Trout. He runs everything down in center field. He is impossible to get out. He hits the ball out to the pull side. He hits the ball out to center field. He hits the ball out the other way. Nobody can get him out. He's the best player in the country by a country mile. Give Jack Caglione a little bit of credit. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but he's just unbelievable. 531 batting average. He's getting on base at a 658 clip. 66%. That is impossible. It's a treat to watch. It really is. So that's the Dylan Cruz chat for the day. Tommy White found it a little bit on Saturday. 4 for 8 in the 2 games, a pair of home runs, including the grand slam. Drove in 8 runs. That's the problem with this lineup for pitching, is that, you got to deal with Cruz, and he's probably going to crush one off the wall or over the wall. And if you don't throw anything in there, he'll walk, which he's done to this point 26 times on the year. And if you do that, well, there's a guy right behind him who changes the scoreboard about as well as anybody in the sport. So, by the way, it's not just Tommy Tanks who's driving the ball to the ballpark for 8 home runs, and he's just a power hitter. Tommy White is hitting .392. So it's really good offensively there. Cade Beloso was given an opportunity to go in there and play. I thought it was just purely a personnel decision that Paxton Kling had been struggling a little bit. Joe Bear made a base running error on Friday, which we'll talk about in a second, and said, look, we're going to send Morgan to left field and let Beloso play because I'm not happy with Joe Bear getting thrown out. I don't think Kling's singing it very well. Let's go somewhere else. It turns out Kling was dealing with a little bit of an injury over the weekend. He should be locked and loaded, ready to roll tomorrow against Grambling. Just a minor injury that held him out of play. So I'm okay with Cade Beloso getting some playing time. He's a great team player. He has swung the bat pretty well when he's been in there. He got 4 hits over the weekend. I'm okay with some at-bats for Cade Beloso. I think that it lessens LSU defensively when he goes to first base. And I think that Paxton Kling needs at-bats because his ceiling is so high. If he gets as close to that ceiling as he can this year, that makes LSU a better team in total. But I'm okay with Beloso getting some at-bats as long as they don't too badly neglect Paxton Kling, who I think needs to play. Now, the base running. Those 2 mistakes on Friday are inexcusable. Inexcusable. Trey Morgan in a 1-run game has got to be hyper-vigilant on third base and able to make a proper read. He is a junior. He has been playing every game since he was a freshman. He knows how to run the bases. He hesitated. He did everything wrong, and there's no reason you can get thrown out on a quote-unquote wild pitch, which isn't a wild pitch, I guess, if you get thrown out at home plate, but you get thrown out on a wild pitch, and he was 15 feet from home plate when the ball got to the plate. I mean, he didn't even slide. That cannot happen at all. And Braden Joubert simply cannot get picked off as the trail runner at first base in a tight ball game. That just cannot happen. You can't go anywhere. There's a base runner on second, and they backpick him at first base. That can't happen. And then on Saturday, I'm at the game, and Trey Morgan just runs through a straight-up stop sign. Now, he made it, and he was safe, but he still ran through a stop sign. And so base running has not been a problem for this team at all. They've run the bases actually quite well throughout for the first 6 weeks, but it was not good over the weekend, and that you just simply cannot have. She's got to run the bases better than what we saw on the weekend. But you get a win over a good Arkansas team. You are 4-2 in the league, and I think that is a very, very good spot for LSU. I'll go through the rest of the league coming up at 2 o'clock and what we saw over the weekend. The Mississippi schools are both 0-9, which is wild. 2 defending national champions, 0-9 in league, 0-6 in league play. So 0-12 total. Crazy stuff. So when we come back, I want to get to the NCAA men's basketball tournament. We'll talk about LSU's girls coming up in hour number 2. This is the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
At Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, you can get 3.99% financing on select 2023 models. And as always, you will never pay over MSRP. We also have a large selection of pre-owned inventory. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance with the latest in office technology from desktop to production.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap the LSU weekend series against Arkansas, and the football Tigers have a big weekend out on the practice field. Join us 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I want to talk some NCAA tournament hoops. I mean, how much more wrong could I have been about the UConn-Gonzaga game? I was teeing that thing up on Friday like this is big boy basketball. This is what we come to see. You get the nice little Cinderella stories, and then at the end you want the beasts playing some basketball at the end. Well, that probably would have eliminated San Diego State and Creighton and FAU from discussion on Friday, and all of a sudden we look here and they were right there at the end, and the UConn-Gonzaga game was just simply not competitive at all. 82-54 the final. I guess, a bad shooting night can just happen, and I don't think that this was totally a product of bad shooting, but Gonzaga does not often go 2 of 20 from 3, and UConn's defense is plenty good and deserve a lot of credit for that, but also you just missed a bunch of shots. And then Drew Timme, who was just all-time good in the Elite Eight game, in the Sweet 16 game, 5 of 14 from the floor. Just nothing there. Jordan Hawkins was sensational. He knocked down 6 threes. Sonogo didn't shoot it great, but he had 6 assists in the game. And UConn just found it. This is one, sometimes you can say things come out of nowhere. I don't think anybody saw Florida Atlantic coming. You could have said that 11 seed that was a UConn team that ended up that nobody saw that coming. Even though UConn was not a 1, 2, or 3 seed, you could see they were playing great basketball late, and they were really good. And you could see some of the wins that they had racked up along the way and thought, man, if they keep playing like this, they're going to be a handful. Nobody's gotten within 15 of them. It's just a beatdown. And I did not think, I don't know if this is the best Gonzaga team, but I didn't think they were going to get beat by 30 points. And they did. UConn just hammered them. Now, Florida Atlantic, that one's interesting. And I was trying to think about a few things this morning about any sort of parallel that would bring me to getting TCU in the national championship game in football and then have a final weekend before the Final Four that features San Diego State and Creighton and Florida Atlantic and Miami and like it just teams that we wouldn't have pegged as Final Four national championship team contenders as of 3-4 weeks ago, as of 6 weeks ago, as of 8 weeks ago. But Florida Atlantic is pretty good. They scored 40 points in the second half on Tennessee, the best defense in the nation. And then they turn around and out-rebound Kansas State 44-22. Like, these aren't flukes. They're just beating teams. I mean, really, the only thing in their non-conference resume that stood out at all was beating Florida, who wasn't great. But they've won more games than anybody else. And feels like they're kind of playing some big boy basketball. Every once in a while, you can just get a group of guys together that it clicks. And it's clicked for Florida Atlantic. Now, San Diego State over Creighton, I'm sitting there watching it. And it all comes down to the last possession, obviously. And you see the shooter go up and then hit the floor and the foul gets called. And your immediate reaction when you're watching that is, I can't believe a foul determines who wins this game. Same thing that happened in the Super Bowl. Can't believe a penalty determines the outcome of the game. But that's part of it. Like, the rules don't change based on the score. And I saw the replay, and I look at it, and I go, that just doesn't look like a foul to me. And then I check my Twitter feed, and every single person says, clearly a foul, clearly a foul, clearly a foul, clearly a foul. And so I rewatched the replay, and I went, okay. I mean, he obviously puts his hand on him, and I'll concede you that. But I'm not 100% sure he pushed him. And I'm confident that it didn't impact the shot. I'm not adamant. I'm not defiant about the whole thing. I'm just watching it. It seemed like, ugh. And then he missed the first free throw, and I was like, man, this would be something if he missed them both. But to his credit, knocked down the free throws. And I fully support the officials making a call at that juncture in the game because you've got to uphold the rules. It just seemed a little bit ticky-tack, and I wanted more. When the game was over, I wanted more than that to be the ending. But it was what it was. And candidly, Miami and Texas, Taylor Sharp, our illustrious video producer, got married yesterday. Nice little ceremony out up I-55, and we were out there and having a great time at the wedding. So I did not watch Miami and Texas. We were keeping an eye on the score. A bunch of people from the station were there. So I can give you a box score breakdown of Miami and Texas, but I did not watch it. What stands out to me when I look at the box score between Miami and Texas is that Miami put all 5 starters in double figures, which is impressive. You figure that Wong and Pack are going to be their leaders, and those two combined for 29 points, but Miller goes for 27. They didn't get really anything from the bench. They got 5 bench points, but their starting 5 put up 83 points, which is really impressive. And Miami goes to 29-7 on the year. And in Texas's run here in the Elite Eight, Longhorns had it at the half. I mean, you're up 8 points, and you give up 51 in the second half to that high-flying 4-guard lineup that Miami throws out there. And they're just, once they get cooking, it's impressive. What's impressive to me about Miami's style, and I've seen them play enough to know what the box score is telling me, and it's really impressive. For them to score 88 points in a regulation game in which they only make 2 3-pointers and only took 8, that's a relentless style of basketball. That's coached, that's bought in, and that's execution, to not settle for lower percentage shots. And they just attack the rim, and you end up scoring 88 points, and 6 of those points came from the three-point line. You made 28 of 32 free throws for 88%. That's coached. That's Jim Larinaga coaching those guys to play a certain way, and they certainly did. So I think, and we'll talk about the Final Four as the week progresses, but I don't want FAU and San Diego State and Miami in all my Final Fours, but I'm okay with it once. It's possible that UConn just blasts everybody. Like, that might happen. UConn might wreck this party and just beat 2 teams by 27 points, and it's not interesting at all. And that wouldn't be UConn's fault. But something tells me that it is going to be an interesting Final Four. I could then give the same, I'm setting myself up for the same conversation I had entering the TCU-Georgia game and then the conversation that I had after it. Entering the Georgia-TCU game, I went, look, you've got to have a really good quarterback to beat Georgia. And TCU checks that box. So TCU's hung with everybody. They've played with everybody. They did it with Michigan, who's a big physical team, just a week ago. I think they'll be fine in this game. I think they'll lose, but I think they'll be fine. And they weren't fine. They shouldn't have been there based on what the scoreboard ended up looking like. And UConn may make me look stupid again. But I'm okay watching Florida Atlantic try to do something that's never been done before. I know that it sounds exactly contradictory to what I said on Friday when I said, time for the big boys to play. I'm ready for Gonzaga. I'm ready for UConn. I want the Blue Bloods out there. And now I'm turning around 3 days later and going, oh, I'm kind of okay watching Florida Atlantic. I know. I have more information, and Florida Atlantic feels like a pretty good story. And basketball is different than football. You need 5 or 6 guys to go out there, and you don't have to stand up physically to Georgia's pass rush for that amount of time. You just got to make some jump shots. So I hope next year I've got Duke and Carolina and the Blue Bloods of the sport, Kansas and whatever. But this will be fun to watch for a weekend. And if it's not, I'll just pay a little bit more attention to LSU and Tennessee baseball. Huh? But interesting tournament to have all the Blue Bloods, all the one seeds knocked out, and then we're left with San Diego State. I'll watch. When we come back, LSU football lost a staff member to the NFL over the weekend. I'll tell you what I think that means and a couple names that have popped up that LSU may be targeting here. It's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. It's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So go to FanDuel.com/1045 ESPN and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. And you can wager on everything from the money line to the point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets. UConn odds are pretty short. I think they're probably a pretty good bet, though. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/1045 ESPN to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issued, non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who knows the game problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Jeep Gladiators and $8,000 off new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokees. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by
Monday edition of Game Time from Finbom in Burbank and Lee. We'll know who the Final Four is set. We'll recap all of the weekend's actions. Game Time from Finbom, Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A bit of unexpected news, I would say, over the weekend, at least for me. Unexpected news over the weekend that Jamar Cain, LSU defensive line coach, going to take a job with the Denver Broncos. I don't think of late March, almost April, as a time where a lot of coaching vacancies are being filled and the carousel spins, so to speak. But obviously Sean Payton filling out that Broncos staff, and maybe they were a little bit slower moving than a staff that was already assembled and was just filling one or two spots. So Cain, who's been a really fast riser here through the coaching ranks, will head to Denver to be a pass rush specialist coach for the Broncos. Jamar Cain, by all accounts, did a really good job in his 1 year here in Baton Rouge. He was integral in landing Deshaun Womack, who might be the highest profile recruit in this LSU signing class. And his hole is a big one. I mean, I think a lot of the guys on that team that were in that defensive line room had a really good relationship with Jamar Cain, and he'll be moving on. Now, one piece to the puzzle here as Brian Kelly looks to fill that staff spot is that when you hired John Jancic as a defensive analyst, special teams coach, he's also going to work with the pass rushers and outside linebackers. So I'm not going to pretend to be able to sit here and tell you exactly what portion of practice outside linebackers spend in pass rush with D-line, or where the jacks go in terms of if they're working with pass coverage or drops and that kind of stuff. Like that's that's beyond my deal. What I do know is that there are some players on this team that have the ability to play some outside linebacker / defensive end. You can be versatile with a lot of them. And John Jancic is involved in some part of that. What you're going to be working with as far as Jamar Cain's replacement is going to be guys that have their hand in the ground playing on the defensive line. And that's what you've got to replace here with Jamar Cain. The question is kind of who's available and where could LSU go. I don't know exactly where Brian Kelly will go if he's got a short list of names. But one that is interesting to me is Bo Davis. Bo Davis certainly played at LSU in the early 90s. He was a grad assistant at LSU in the DiNardo area. He came back in the Saban era at the end as an assistant strength and conditioning coach. Then he went with Saban to Miami, and then he was there at Alabama, and he was the Tide's defensive line coach for 4 seasons, and then went back to Alabama. But there were obviously some NCAA infraction issues in the mid-2010s that led to a show cause. He returned to college coaching in 2021 with Steve Sarkisian over in Austin at Texas, and that's where he is right now. Would he be open to a phone call and coming home? Would Brian Kelly even want Bo Davis on the staff? I don't know, but it's just a name that was off the board for a long time. Thanks to a show cause, now he's in Austin at Texas. His position at his alma mater is open. Is that a guy you want to go to? Bo Davis is known as a really, really strong recruiter. We know that from his time in Tuscaloosa, and that's obviously something that Brian Kelly is always going to want to add to his staff, and he's prioritized guys in some spots with some Louisiana roots. Certainly did that with Frank Wilson. I think there's reason to believe Bo Davis would be somebody that he would consider. Shea Dixon, our buddy from over at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 network, put out a couple of names. Todd Bates is a co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. He also coaches their defensive tackles. Is that a name that Brian Kelly would want to bring in? Shea mentions Jimmy Brumbaugh, who's at Coastal Carolina as a defensive line coach. Shea is as plugged in as anybody with this coaching staff and with this program. So I tend to take some of the things he says pretty seriously. We'll see just how quickly Brian Kelly wants to move. Again, this is an odd situation because of where the calendar is. We're right in the middle of spring practice. And not that spring practice is the most important thing that ever happened, but I mean, you're in a situation where Jamar Cain told his position group he was leaving right before they went to practice. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Apparently, it was an emotional time when that did happen. A lot of the guys here in Baton Rouge were really disappointed by that, but that's just kind of the nature of college coaching. These guys very rarely stay in one place more than 3, 4, 5 years. You either move up or move on in some capacity. And in this case, Jamar Cain is going to move up to the National Football League, and he'll take a job with the Denver Broncos. And Brian Kelly's got to take his time. The good news is that you're at this point more able to deal with this from a logistical perspective because of the amount of analysts that you have on staff and the amount of just staff members in total. You've still got people in that building and around that building that can help with film studying, can help you with practice and drills. And Brian Kelly can go over there and lend his 2 eyes on it as well. It's not like you've got one guy in Jamar Cain who's in charge of these 11, 12 guys and no one else knows what's going on in there. That's may have been the case years and years and years ago when you were limiting your staff in a place like LSU where you've got the resources and you've got analysts and staff members for days over there. They can pretty much figure out who needs to step in, do what job, and continue the wheels in motion until Brian Kelly can fill that job full time. So LSU in the market for a defensive line coach as Jamar Cain moves on. LSU back on the practice field over the weekend and this week. We'll continue to get you some updates on spring practice as you move forward. One of the things that's just so obvious to me when I go out there to spring practice is just the numbers are light out there right now. Between guys who are just sitting out for some minor injuries, some guys that are sitting out for some major injuries, and the lack of your signing class not being there yet, and the transfer portal sending a bunch of guys out. There's just not a lot of numbers out there at practice right now. So just trying to get some good work where you can get it. We'll be out there watching a little bit of LSU football practice a little bit later. That'll do it here for hour number 1 on this Monday. Hope your work week is off to an excellent start. If you missed any of the first hour, good news. You can always find it on demand. 1045ESPN.com is where you can find all of our shows archived on the On Demand tab. If you're more of a Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google listener, you can find all of our stuff there. Just search The Hunt Palmer Show. We always appreciate likes, subscriptions, ratings, reviews. As long as they're positive, we enjoy those, trying to get our content in front of as many people as possible. Certainly on YouTube, each and every day, full shows are archived, as well as 10-minute clips of segments and such. Subscribe to the channel. All our content will go right there to your fingertips. We would certainly appreciate it. I opened the show, gave you 30 minutes of my thoughts on LSU and Arkansas. It was a really successful weekend for LSU, especially on Saturday, where they kind of embarrassed one of the better teams in the country over the course of 2 games. I gave you some positives, some negatives, a lot of thoughts on the pitching side and the offensive side. My thoughts on the Final Four that is now set at 1:30, and then some thoughts on Jamar Cain leaving for Denver at the end of the hour. We'll talk about LSU women punching their ticket to their 6th Final Four in program history, first under Kim Mulkey at 2:15. But we come back, give you some updates from the weekend that was in SEC play, some not so great times in the state of Mississippi. I'll give you details on that after Sports Center. Come back with us. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Quarterback Lamar Jackson's ready to take flight from the Ravens for good. In a series of tweets today, Jackson said he requested a trade from Baltimore on March 2nd. The Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on him March 7th. Jackson's free to sign an offer sheet with another team. Baltimore can match it or receive 2 first-round picks as compensation. The Ravens need to resolve this matter soon, advises ESPN's Teddy Bruschi.
You can have certain players on your team that want to be traded and can still be in your locker room and play and perform a role. I don't believe that can be anyone playing the quarterback position, because the quarterback is it's involved in too much within the organization, the team, especially the offense. Everyone looks to him.
Mavericks point guard Luka Doncic had his 16th technical foul of the season rescinded by the NBA league office. That means he is eligible to play against the Pacers tonight. 76ers big man Joel Embiid with right calf tightness will not play tonight against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, reports ESPN's Ramona Shelburne and Adrian Wojnarowski.
A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show here on a Monday. Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. Downtown in the capital city. Busy weekend in Southeastern Conference baseball. I want to get you caught up on that. Talk a little about the Lady Tigers punching their tickets to the Final Four coming up in the next segment. Interesting weekend in the SEC, as most are. Most of the teams in the league are good. Got to play 3 games. It's the least predictable sport. And some crazy things have happened. A lot of sweeps this year. We had 5 sweeps in week 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 more in week 2. So a lot of 3-0 weekends. One of the sweeps this weekend was up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Tennessee will be coming to Baton Rouge this coming weekend. Swept Texas A&M by scores of 10-4, 8-7, and 9-6. The Aggies just don't have the arms right now. And they did try to go to Lampkin, the left-hander that really did a good job against LSU in Game 3. He gave up 6 earned runs on 8 hits and 4 1/3 against Tennessee. The Vols have had their issues here and there, but they didn't over the weekend. A&M kind of tried to set the tone in the first game. They scored 2 off Chase Dolander in the first inning, then got another one off of him in the second inning, and then that was it. Dolander mowed him down the rest of the way, and Nathan Detmer, A&M's Friday night guy, gave up 9 earned runs in 5 innings. And so for the Aggies, it's a veteran offense that's got some really good pieces, and I think they're going to hit most of the weekend. And they went up there against maybe the best rotation in the country, and they scored 4 runs early, 3 off Dolander. They got 7 runs in Game 2 and 6 runs in Game 3. They scored a little bit on that Tennessee pitching staff. They just couldn't get them out. And Tennessee maybe has righted the ship as they head to Baton Rouge for, again, we'll talk about it a lot over the week, but maybe the most highly anticipated regular season series in the history of the new stadium. Maybe. Vols were swept by Missouri. They come back and sweep A&M. They are 3-3. A&M all of a sudden looking up at 1-5 in the league. Another sweep in the state of Mississippi. Florida goes to Swayze Field and sweeps the Ole Miss Rebels. I said in the first hour that Dylan Cruz was the best player in the country by a country mile. And then immediately when I said that, wait, Jack Caglione may have a slight argument. And some people in the Bayou Ford chat called me out on YouTube. Caglione hit 4 more home runs over the weekend in Oxford. He's got 17 on the year already. I mean, 20 homers is a massive year. We've played 2 of the 10 SEC weekends. He's already got 17. And he pitches. We talked in the pre-conference about the loss of Hunter Elliott, Ole Miss's ace, and what that meant for their pitching staff. And what it did was it took their highest leverage reliever in Jack Doherty and put him at the front of the rotation and left them bare in the bullpen. And that's become obvious. They gave up 28 runs in 3 games. They just can't pitch. And I was listening to Chase Parham and Neil McCready on the Rebel Grove podcast this morning, and Ole Miss has got 2 guys on their staff right now that threw 10 innings as a D1 pitcher last year. They've got a bunch of freshmen. They've got some guys who were out last year with injury. They've got some JUCO guys. They just don't have enough. And Florida just bashed them all over the yard. So the question is, if you're Mike Bianco, as they're about to head to College Station this weekend, do you move Jack Doherty back into the bullpen and try to find something else as a starter? Because you know what you have in him one time through the order. If he's trying to get 7 outs, he could be really good. But if you try to get him through the order 2.5 times, it's just not working. And then, even if you do, and it does work, and then you get to the end of the bullpen, you don't have anybody to put in the game. They had a lead of 2 runs going to the 8th inning, and Florida lit them up in game 2. So it's just a tough spot for the defending national champions in Oxford. They can hit, but they can't pitch it a lick. Giving up 28 runs in 3 games, not great, especially after you went to Nashville to play Vanderbilt and just got annihilated. Speaking of Vanderbilt and annihilating people, they went to Starkville over the weekend. Wait till you hear some of these stats. State, in this series against Vanderbilt, gave up 55 runs in 25 innings. 55 runs in 25 innings. That's not even the most puzzling thing of this whole deal. Mississippi State has lost 17 SEC games in a row. 17. That is impossible. Do you know how hard it is to lose 17 baseball games in a row? At some point, somebody's got to show up and throw 6 shutout innings. Or somebody has got to hit a big 3-run homer in the 7th inning. Like, at some point, you can't lose 17 in a row. And a program that proud, coming off a national championship 2 years ago, with that facility, these resources, 17 in a row, and it's not like, oh, yeah, barely lost that one. They're getting annihilated. 55 runs over the weekend. That's just not going to get it done. They're the worst fielding team in the league. They're the worst ERA in the league. They're 0-6, lost 17 in a row. It's almost unfathomable that they could be this bad. And where do you even point? I mean, let me give you the scores from this weekend. 26-3 on Friday. 26-3. Now, that's a little ridiculous, and obviously when you get behind by a bunch, you're not going to throw any of your better relievers, and maybe you give up some more runs. But at least at some point, maybe you save some of the staff for the next day. Well, the day after they lost 26-3, they lost 18-5. 18-5, and they came back and gave up 11 runs in Game 3 and lost 11-7. Vanderbilt's good, and that's part of this deal, and that's something for down the road. Again, LSU doesn't play them this year, but I cannot believe that Mississippi State is this bad. And I know that it was very, very difficult for them to get over the hump, and they were great in the 80s and some of the 90s, and they've had some really good teams here under John Cohen, and then finally you broke through and got the school's national championship. What an amazing accomplishment for little old Mississippi State and Starkville to go to Omaha and finally win the national championship. But I'm sorry. If I'm the athletic director at Mississippi State and you go 9-21 in the league last year, which they did, and you are getting embarrassed on a nightly basis right now, and this thing doesn't turn around in a hurry, I'm telling Chris Lemonis, 1 year, bud. Fix it now. Portal, recruiting class, development, whatever. This will not happen again. I wouldn't be shocked if they did after this year. I mean, they're on track in my mind to go 6-24. I mean, listen to these scores. I gave you the Vanderbilt series. Kentucky, I don't even think it's very good. They lost 17-3 to Kentucky and 12-3 to Kentucky in 2 of the games. 6-5 in another one. Just absolutely getting crushed. I'm stunned by that. I thought they were bad. That puts it at a whole nother level. Auburn beat Georgia 2 out of 3. Auburn got a walk-off win on Thursday. They beat Georgia 6-3 on Friday, and then Georgia got all over them 24-7 on Saturday. So kind of what I expect. I don't think either of those teams is great, and so Auburn beats Georgia 2 out of 3. South Carolina sweeps Missouri. We know Missouri went up to, welcomed Tennessee to Columbia and swept them, and they go on the road to South Carolina and in a doubleheader got beat 8-1 and 5-4 in 12 innings after a 9-8 beating on Friday. So this is the best start for a season in South Carolina's program since the year 2000. They are 23-2. They sold out 2 of the 3 games this week. It feels like there's some juice in that program. I don't know how great they are. Joe Healy, who we've talked to a couple times, says he thinks they're pretty good. We know that fan base is proud, and they had an unbelievable run under Ray Tanner. Maybe they found something in this team. LSU obviously going to visit them here coming up, so that's interesting. South Carolina's jumped out to a really good start with 6-0 through 2 weekends of conference play, and then Kentucky beats Alabama 2 out of 3. Kentucky won games 1 and 2. Bama won the third one. I still, even though Kentucky had a 17-game win streak, I don't know that I'm buying a lot of stock in the Cats, and I may not be buying a ton of stock in Bama, who's 2-4 in the league after starting out like gangbusters against bad teams. So that's kind of your look at the Southeastern Conference. Tennessee sweeps A&M. Florida sweeps Ole Miss. Vandy sweeps Mississippi State. Auburn beats Georgia 2 out of 3. South Carolina sweeps Missouri. And Kentucky beats Bama 2 out of 3. All right, Lady Tigers headed to the Final Four. Give you my thoughts on what we saw yesterday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Join us for the Tuesday edition of Hanny Time. The women's Final Four will be set, and we'll be talking with Dwayne Colucci about the upcoming men's Final Four from Las Vegas. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Coaching searches are always fun. Is it a fit? Can they do this? Can they do that? How's that going to work out? You never know, right? Or do you? There was a time 10 years ago where it was said in the football coaching searches world, there are only two sure things. There's Saban and Urban Meyer, and that's it. Those are the only sure things you have. Urban Meyer went to Florida and won 2 national championships. He then went to Ohio State and immediately won a national championship. Nick Saban came to LSU, won a national championship, went to Tuscaloosa, built a dynasty. And now I think you could say with some confidence that if you plugged Kirby Smart in at Texas or USC or Penn State or Ohio State or Florida State or Auburn, he would win at a very, very high level. I think you could call him essentially a sure thing. But there are very, very few of those. Very, very few in any sport. Kim Mulkey was that. The second she was hired at LSU, anyone you talk to said, yeah, they'll win a title, 2 or 3. Yeah, sure. Sure thing. And I don't know what our expectations are for how quickly it would be. And I certainly don't think they're a favorite to win a national title this year. You could convince me pretty quickly that they're the favorite to win it next year based on the returning talent on this team, the signing class they've got coming in, and what they could potentially do in the transfer portal. But she took a program that was dead asleep, just comatose, snapped her fingers, and here we are. Now, that is not to disrespect the hours and hours and hours of work she put in to recruit players and grab transfers and coach them and game plan, coach on the court. It's obviously not a finger snap, but that's what it feels like from the outside. She just put a shot of life in this program that had been asleep for a decade. And while the pace and execution in the game yesterday may have put some other people to sleep, the result of it was getting to the Final Four. Make no mistake, yesterday was a very, very poorly played game. That's just the way it is. Both teams shot it atrociously. They were just, it was a bad basketball game. But that happens. Duke and Butler played a bad national championship game a decade ago. Kim says the balls were too bouncy. I don't know about that. I just know that Miami and LSU at different times in this season have been very good offensive teams, and they stunk yesterday. But LSU stunk significantly less and controlled the game the entire second half. You can be a great defensive team, which LSU is a good defensive team. There's no question about that. But that's not exactly why Miami was 0 from 15 from the floor, from three-point range. 18 turnovers. Some of that's LSU. But I'm coming back home from Taylor's wedding last night, and Patrick Wright, who does a great job calling the games, was calling the game on 100.7 The Tiger. And, he says that one of the Miami girls just dribbled it off her foot. Dribbled off her foot. LSU, big break for LSU. Yeah, that is a big break for LSU. I'm not sure if they forced that turnover or not, but we'll take it. And finally, Kateri Poole hits a three, which was like manna from heaven when it goes in. Every single thing offensively was just a grind. Alexis Morris did have 8 field goals, but it took her 22 shots to get there. Angel Reese was 3 of 15 from the floor. Nice little play to beat the shot clock, though, off the glass on the inbounds. But you know what you're going to get with Angel Reese because she backed it up with 18 rebounds. She blocked 2 shots. She needs to stay out of foul trouble come this weekend. She fouled out of a couple games in a row, and that's not a recipe for success for LSU. And look, y'all know, if you've listened to the show at all, that I haven't done a ton of content on LSU women's basketball. I've got 2 hours here. There's a lot going on, and day to day, we don't get to them all the time. But because I didn't spend 45 minutes on one of their games in January doesn't mean that I can't sit back here at the end of March and reflect on how great an accomplishment this is. I don't care that Indiana lost on their home floor and LSU didn't have to play the 1 seed. LSU earned this Final Four berth and is a threat to win this thing. They're not the betting favorite. They don't have to play South Carolina until the end. So South Carolina's still got to win 2 more games. But this is an amazing accomplishment for Kim, and in my opinion, that's the way I mean it when I say this, is such a compliment to her that that she's such an amazing program developer and coach that she can be hired for a program that has no fan interest, no juice, no nothing, and immediately go, all right, they're going to win a national championship here pretty soon. And they're knocking on the door in year 2. And you'll take the break that Miami goes on the road and gets that win and then shows up and can't throw it in the ocean. Not a Miami pun there, but it works. Just bricklaying from the Lady Hurricanes. And LSU got it done when they needed to late. And it was great to me. Patrick works for the network and helps us on football post-game shows with some interviews with the players. And to hear the jubilation and the happiness and the excitement in his voice calling the game last night was really cool, because that was a great gig when LSU was going to the Final Four every year. And it would be like calling LSU baseball day in and day out, coming off the Bertman glory days, and then all of a sudden they're just a middle of the SEC, bottom of the SEC, sometimes in the tournament, sometimes not, first weekend out of the tournament team. You know what it can be, and for it to not be that, it's got to be so disappointing as someone who's a part of it. But man, they're back now, and they're confident. They've got an edge to them. Angel Reese has got an edge to her. Flage's got an edge to her. Alexis Morris has got an edge to her. And as I've paid a lot more attention to them over the last 3 weeks, I'm starting to see some trends and develop some opinions on what this team can and can't be. And it kind of comes back to me when I look at this team. how far can Alexis Morris take them? Angel's an incredible player, and she's going to grab rebounds. She's going to score around the bucket, but the guard play, and specifically the guard shooting, has got to be a little bit better. And Kateri Poole finally got one to go, and Flau'jae couldn't find a jump shot. But Alexis Morris is the ball handler on this team and has got to create the best shots for her and everybody else on the floor. We know it almost all fell on her hands when they went to South Carolina and got beat pretty bad. And that's because South Carolina has the size to really deal with Angel Reese. And Angel got in foul trouble in that game, too, against South Carolina. But Alexis Morris going to have the ball in her hands. If she can shoot 60% in a big game, knock down 3 threes, it just changes the way things flow. They're going to play defense. They're going to rebound. I think they're going to have to shoot it better if they want to win another game or two. You can't shoot 30% in a Final Four game. You can't expect your defense to hold somebody to 42. But you'll take the break. You'll take Miami just not being able to find it. That's good fortune, and LSU got it. But still, what a great accomplishment for Kim Mulkey's program to get back to the Final Four, the 6th in LSU's history. Interestingly enough, and this is something we'll talk about, I'm sure, over the next week, Tiger men got to a couple of Final Fours under Dale Brown, got to a Final Four under John Brady, have never won that Final Four game to get in the championship game. LSU women's basketball goes to 5 straight Final Fours, never won a Final Four game to get to a championship game. Does that drought continue for this LSU basketball programs, or can this be the team that breaks through? There'll be a lot of people here pulling for them, and Dallas, not that far away. I think LSU could get a fairly nice contingent over there in the Metroplex for this weekend's festivities and the Final Four. Final score yesterday, LSU 54 and Miami 42. Kind of a rock fight, but LSU will take it. They are headed to the Final Four, and congratulations to Kim Mulkey and her program. Take a time out. Still got more to get to. Here's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. In March, we're telling you about Trey Godfrey. Trey has dedicated his career to bettering Baton Rouge, his hometown, and currently he's the Senior VP of Policy for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. In his work over at BRAC, he oversees education policy, among many other things, and that allows him to make an impact from a more systemic perspective. Trey Godfrey, certainly a champion of Louisiana, bettering his city of Baton Rouge each and every day. If you know somebody like Trey Godfrey, or if you know somebody, a nonprofit, maybe a company that's doing great philanthropic work here in our city or even our great state, we want to know about it. LWCC wants us to tell their story. LWCC wants to tell their story. Go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate that person, that nonprofit, that business to be a champion of Louisiana so that we can use this platform to tell their story. Trey Godfrey is March's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap the LSU weekend series against Arkansas, and the football Tigers have a big weekend out on the practice field. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So Lamar Jackson's still cranky. And the news coming out today is that, hey, trade me. I'm done. As Lamar says it, the Ravens aren't even close to the value that he thinks he should command, and he doesn't want to deal with them anymore. There's so many different people weighing in on this from different perspectives. You've got current players, you've got former players, you've got analysts, you've got former executives who are now doing TV work, you've got talking heads, you've got people on Twitter. There are so many different perspectives to this negotiation. You've got some people saying if he had an agent, this thing would already be done. You got some people saying he's a brave guy for taking this team on and doing it himself. You got so many different angles to this entire thing. But what you've got, and Saint fans can relate to this, like the Saints are still very much in search for a quarterback that gives them a legitimate chance to win Super Bowls. Maybe Derek Carr's it. I would bet against that, but you can't argue after last year that you're still searching, and Derek Carr hadn't taken a snap for you yet. So searching's the wrong word because you've got that guy, but you've got who you're going to try, but the jury's still out on whether or not he's good enough. I think most people would suggest that Lamar Jackson, when surrounded with an excellent football team, is good enough to win Super Bowls. He certainly won an MVP. So when you don't have that guy, it's miserable. When you've got him, you got to find a way to make it work. And it appears that the Ravens may be willing to say, we're not doing this. We're not breaking the bank here. And Rex Ryan, who worked in that organization, said as much on Get Up months ago. Said, hey, look, if they don't come to a financial agreement, the Ravens aren't just going to fold and pay him. They are more likely to say, we're done. We'll save that money and go build a great team elsewhere. We got guys on our team that can play quarterback. See ya. And he may be right. The thing, my opinion on this, and I don't even have a great perspective on building football rosters and whatnot. I mean, look, I am who I am. a little bit better at telling you who I think I would start on Friday for regional than I am working out the guaranteed money versus the cap hit versus the dead money versus draft picks trying to be an NFL GM. But what I'm comfortable saying on the salary side of things is this. If Lamar Jackson is going to sit here and wait for someone to give him $230 million guaranteed, just like Deshaun Watson got, I think he's going to be sitting for a while. Because there are probably 31 other teams outside of Cleveland that are saying, we're never doing that. I mean, just look at Patrick Mahomes' contract. It's for 10 years, $450 million. Well, how much is guaranteed of the $450 million? 141. That's 110 shy of what Deshaun Watson got. This Deshaun Watson contract is so out of line with the way every other team is doing business that it's difficult for me to think that Lamar Jackson can just walk up to any team in the league and go, hey, that's what Deshaun got. Give it to me. And I think most of the ownership groups and the general managers are going, no. Just because the Browns did something doesn't mean we now have to. So much is said about where's the market set. And that was something, as I've talked about multiple times in the show, that I got more accustomed to as the Cubs were getting into heavy-duty negotiations with the backbone of the greatest run in the history of their franchise with Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Javier Baez and all those guys. And they're looking around the league, and they're saying, well, the market says this is what you get in the market. And the players take that to heart. They feel like, one, if you take a bit of a hometown discount, you're taking money off your plate, but you also allow an arbiter or a general manager or whoever's making the last financial decision for another player in the league to look at your contract and go, well, he got that, so this is all you can get. And so they take that to heart. There's a brotherhood, and there's a fraternity there that makes sure that everybody stays on the up and up there. And if I'm a general manager, I'm saying, well, I don't care what the Browns did to get Deshaun Watson with $250 million in guaranteed money. You're not getting that. And so I don't know exactly what the conversations are with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I'm sure that it is not as simple as him saying, this is what Deshaun got, you pay me this or I don't play. That's probably watering down the discussion just a little bit. But it feels like it's closer to that than it is a serious negotiation based on age, production, and what other quarterbacks around the league have gotten. That's what it feels like based on the reporting. And I'm just sitting here going, man, Ravens may trade Lamar Jackson and get some picks and some assets for it, but if he thinks the team that trades for him is going to step up to the plate and give him Deshaun Watson's contract, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be how it works. He's really good, and he should get paid. But you're probably going to have to fall in line with the rest of the league and not the one massively outlying contract that was offered up at the quarterback position. So now you start to look at, where does Lamar fit? Do the Jets pivot here and try to get something done there? Are there other teams that are going to try to make a pitch for Lamar? Are the Falcons one of those now? Green Bay. Houston. I mean, do you want to take your hand at one of these quarterbacks in the draft? Much cheaper, far less certain? Or do you want to ante up and go pay the quarterback? I don't know. To put a bow on this, as someone, again, who's never been in any sort of negotiation like this in my life for hundreds of millions of dollars, it just feels like, from the outside, without very much knowledge, Lamar would do himself a service to get an agent involved. Doesn't it feel like that? I know you got to pay them their cut, but this just shouldn't be lingering like this, where it feels like they're not even close. Why are they not close? Because he's being unreasonable? Because he doesn't quite have a handle on how they want to do business? Or because the Ravens are so stubborn and rigid and confident in their ability as an organization, they see themselves as far greater than anything Lamar Jackson can give him? Yeah, you're a really good quarterback, but I'm going to get another really good quarterback, because that's what we do. I think it's fascinating, and I think if you're a Saints fan, you sit back and you look at this, well, you're not in a very enviable position at the quarterback spot post-Breeze. We'll see how the Carr thing works out. And then the Ravens feel like they do have a fairly young, really talented player at the position who could lead them to Super Bowls, and they can't get him happy. It's interesting for sure over in Baltimore. And as a lifelong 2-year Bengals fan, 3-year Bengals fan, I'll short myself there, 3-year Bengals fan, I'm curious how this is going to work out, and I hope that Lamar Jackson is not back in Baltimore, because I think the Ravens will be worse if he's not the quarterback there. I watched enough of Huntley. I'll play him. I'll play him 3 times a year. Jackson's a little more nerve-wracking. He can make things real uncomfortable for you in a hurry. So, again, as a diehard Skyline chili eating, can't go anywhere towards the Reds, but big Cincinnati guy myself, I hope Lamar finds a home elsewhere. That would be really, really good. We'll take a timeout one more time. When we come back, a couple of notes from Jay Johnson's press conference today. Then, as we do each and every day, we'll play a little Take It or Leave It to wrap up on Monday.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, let's say Monday edition of Game Time from Finbom and Burbank and Lee. We'll know who the Final Four is set. We'll recap all of the weekend's actions. Game Time from Finbom, Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Very, very, very much looking forward to Thursday. Going to be out at 10 at Rally Cap. Out at Rally Cap Brewing on Segan, just off Segan, for opening day. Major League Baseball. Going to be baseball on all day. We'll be out at Rally Cap from 3:30 to 5:30 on Thursday. We'll be watching some baseball, drinking some delicious Rally Cap beers over there. They'll be cooking up some brats. Should be a really good time. So come on out. We want everybody to come on out. They got a great little spot over there, some great TVs, plenty of seating area at the brewery over there. And what it is, it'll be like we're just watching baseball, just chatting up. It'll be kind of a tailgate for first pitch between LSU and Tennessee at 7 o'clock on Thursday, and I cannot wait for that either. So going to be a ton of fun on Thursday. Rally Cap, 3:30 to 5:30. So if you can knock off work a little earlier, just come on right when you're done. We'll be hanging out there, watching baseball, cooking some great food, and enjoying the Rally Cap beers that they've got over there at the brewery. So I'm coming out, really, really want y'all to be a part of it. If you missed this earlier, Jay Johnson updated a couple of things on the injury front for LSU baseball. Nate Ackenhausen was unavailable over the weekend. He was dealing with a little bit of soreness, a little bit of tenderness. He's not going to be available tomorrow against Grambling, but they are expecting Ackenhausen to pitch this weekend against Tennessee. Paxton Kling, same type deal, dealing with a minor injury over the weekend. That's why you saw Cade Beloso go to first and Trey Morgan play some left field. The expectation is that Kling should be ready to go this week, which is a very, very good thing. Javen Coleman, on the injury side of things, did start throwing some bullpens. You're probably not going to get a lot of optimism on Javen Coleman helping this team from me. I'm not here to tell you it's impossible. I was told they were not expecting at all Javen Coleman to help them as of the winter. And then Jay Johnson came out right before the season started and was like, yeah, or in media day, he's like, yeah, he's progressing really quick. If there's a window, we're gonna go for it, which was news to me. And I did not figure that was going to be the case. And then he came back like 2 weeks later and like, yeah, he's not nearly as close as maybe we thought. And so it's been back and forth. Elbows and arms are finicky. You never know. Javen Coleman's going to continue to rehab. He's going to try to help this team. I'm just probably not going to bank on that. You're not going to hear a lot of me on this show go, yeah, but when Javen Coleman comes back, it's total lanyap if you get anything from him. The good news is I think Ackenhausen, when healthy, is very, very good. Riley Cooper is a proven commodity, and Griffin Herring had 2 pretty good innings in the game this weekend. It was a little erratic with command, but he's got great stuff, and I think can help. So that's 3 guys from the left side. Anything Coleman can give you would be lanyap, but wanted to give those updates. The last one, which doesn't affect this team at all, is Grant Taylor did have his surgery to repair that torn UCL. They are hopeful that they may be able to get something from him at the end of next year, but it's just really bad timing for an injury to have it at that point where you're going to miss all of this year and then majority, if not all, of next year. Just really tough. And we're seeing like Thatcher Hurd's coming back from an injury, and how much that's affecting him, who's to say? I'm not really sure. But just pitchers dealing with injuries and coming back from it's just hard to heap a lot of expectation on those guys. Hopefully, though, they come back and can help LSU when they're ready and healthy. For Ackenhausen, that's this weekend. For maybe Coleman the end of this year, maybe for Taylor the end of next year. But there's a little injury update from LSU baseball. All right, Taylor Sharp is, he's going on his honeymoon tomorrow. So, Casey Gaines, let's play a little Take It or Leave It.
All right, we'll start things off with my Kentucky Wildcats. As Kentucky point guard Xavier Wheeler has entered the transfer portal. Wheeler to LSU, take it or leave it.
I would take it.
I'll take it.
Obviously, playing time was a little iffy there for him this year. Didn't start off great. Then they kind of made a change over to Cason Wallace as the point guard. Wheeler has led the SEC in assists twice. He's a veteran player and can certainly play at this level. LSU is in desperate need of ball handlers and point guards. So if he wanted to jump in the boat, I'd be all for that.
Rodney Terry and Texas have agreed to terms on a contract making him the permanent head coach. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave this. And not that I don't think Rodney Terry can do a great job at Texas. He clearly coached this team really well. It's just the job's a lot bigger than that. And you're Texas. You can go kick the tires on a lot of different coaches and see who you might want. I don't want you to think just because Rodney Terry took Chris Beard's team and made the Elite Eight means that you have to hire him. I've just been puzzled a little bit by these big-time programs kind of settling for the next guy on the bench. Well, Hubert Davis sat next to Roy Williams, so we'll go with him. Well, John Shire sat next to Coach K, we'll go with him. Well, Rodney Terry sat next to Chris Beard, we'll go with him. Y'all can interview anybody you want. You're blue bloods in college sports. So I'm just puzzled a little bit by, just grab the next guy. Again, Terry might be great. I don't think this is some kind of disaster or anything. I just feel like you should go out there and conduct a search instead of saying, Chris Beard is one of the best coaches in the country, bar none. What he did was awful, and he made a mistake, and he paid for it. But you can't question the basketball coaching ability. He won in Lubbock. So he's really good, and he composed a really good team, and Rodney Terry coached a really good team. I just don't know how indicative that is of the future being this bright, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess the whole Calipari to Texas thing.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out, did it? Yep.
When asked about Dan Snyder selling the Commanders, his former employer, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, said, "My first reaction was the organization is worth that much and I couldn't get free coffee. Take it or leave it."
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He's interesting. He's such a funny guy on the mic, and I saw that clip a little bit earlier. Couldn't get free coffee. Just in the seemingly endless list of the way that the Washington organization has been atrociously run for 30 years is that they can't get free coffee. Never mind the fact that they can't get to the playoffs or win a playoff game or enjoy any of the success that they did before Dan Snyder bought the team where they were one of the best organizations in the sport. They can't even get coffee. It's just everything they do is incorrect over there in Washington, so shouldn't be too surprising.
All right, wrapping things up. The Hawks' Trae Young was ejected after firing a ball at an official. Take it or leave it.
Okay, I saw this clip. I'm going to leave it with a caveat. I did not see where the official was standing. I saw the intent and the force with which Trae Young threw the ball, and I would not have ejected him unless the official was right out of my frame and not looking. If that's the case, I reserve my right to change my answer. But if the official was 20 feet away and was looking, it wasn't like he wound up and threw a four-seam fastball at him. He two-hand chest passed it, maybe a little bit more firmly than you would want. These guys are in the heat of the battle. He's trying to win a basketball game. You're the official. I don't need to eject Trae Young for the 15th time on the season because I think he threw the basketball 3 miles an hour too hard. Y'all know me. I'm almost always going to err on the side of the players here. I don't like ejections. I don't like when officials get their feelings hurt or whatnot. We can't have people throwing basketballs at people. So if I didn't see it went out of my frame. So if I didn't get all the information there, I'll hold my hand up and I will admit that I was wrong. But based on the clip that I saw, it looked like he was frustrated. He threw a two-hand chest pass to the official, and they teed him up and ejected him from the game. I'm not wild about that, but that's just I'm in the minority on this. People are always saying that I'm wrong on that. So it is what it is. That's take it or leave it here on this Monday. Again, hope your work week's off to a really good start. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this Monday. If you missed any of the show, you can always go back and watch or listen on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, of course, on YouTube as well. Our full shows are archived in all of those places, as well as some of our cut-up segments that we do each and every week. So if you missed any of the show, you can always go back and catch it on demand. We opened 30 minutes on LSU and Arkansas. Tigers get 2 of 3 from the Hogs. Gave you some of the good, some of the not so good. Covered all the pitching as well as some of the offense, base running. It's all there in the first 30 minutes of the show. Then we switch gears and talk to NCAA tournament. It's going to be a wild Final Four over in Houston. So, is it in Vegas? Did I hear Hanny say that? I thought it was in Houston. I think it is in Houston. Either way, it's going to be a wild one. I gave you my thoughts on that at 1:30. Jamar Cain leaving LSU's football coaching staff. He is headed to Denver. Gave my thoughts on a couple of names that may replace him, courtesy of Shay Dixon of the On3 Network. SEC baseball weekend recap at 2 o'clock. LSU women headed to the Final Four. And what is Lamar Jackson's contract going to look like? That's all in hour number 2. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming to you tonight at 6 o'clock from 6 to 8. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you here. Same time, same place tomorrow, 1 to 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me?